are you? Week 3 of The Artist Way. Let's talk about week 3. We're going to glance over week 2. I'm going to show some footage of some of the things. One of the things about week 2 was synchronicities were introduced, and they were talking about opening the door to, or leaving the door open to ideas and synchronicities. And in one of the things they wanted you to task to was, where does your time go? And they wanted you to, on a sheet of paper, draw a circle. Inside the circle, place topics, which I did. My topics got watercolored over, but I also had them elsewhere. They also talked about 20 things that you enjoy doing, 10 tiny changes, and things like that. I did those. I felt pretty decent about week 2. I did miss morning pages one day during week 2. And then we get to week 3, and that was where they talked about synchronicity a lot more. I liked week 2 was recovering a sense of identity. Week 3 was recovering a sense of power. She said, I like to think of the mind as a room. We keep all of our usual ideas about life, the universe, what's possible and what's not. The room has a door, and that door is ever so slightly ajar. And outside, we can see a great deal of dazzling light. Out there in the dazzling light are a lot of new ideas that we consider too far out for us, and so we keep them out there. And she said, now that we are in creative recovery, there is another approach that we need to try. To do this, we gently set aside our skepticism for later use. And if we need it, when a weird idea or coincidence whizzes by, we gently nudge the door a little further open. And I wrote, pay attention. Pay attention to the moment you are living. Be present. Be here and now. And that was one of the things that felt like was important. I did answer about where the time was going. I thought the focus was more on getting in tune with like our identity as an inner artist and relearning things about like ourselves and as an artist. So paying a lot more attention to our creative self, our ideas, our dreams, our passions, the things that we dream about doing and the things that we think maybe might be a little too far off as far as the dream goes. I felt like week 2 was really good. There were some things that I realized for me were blocks, and I felt like I need to do a little bit more work on those. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the Artist Way program right now. For week 3, we are recovering a sense of power. One of the things that it said, the illusion that you hold of your previously accepted limits is shaken, or will be shaken, or probably has already been shaken. She talks about anger, how anger is a fuel, and we stuff it, we deny it, we ignore it, we bury it, we block it, we hide it, we medicate it, we lie about it, we muffle it, we ignore it. We do everything but listen to it. Anger is a map. It shows us what our boundaries are. It shows us where we want to go, where we've been, and what we haven't liked. It points the way. Anger is meant to be acted upon, not acted out. It just points the direction. So anger is the firestorm that signals the death of our old life, the fuel that propels us into our new one. It's a tool. Anger is meant to be tapped into and drawn upon. Anger is not the action itself. It's the action's imitation. She talks about synchronicity and serendipity and Jung and things like that. So some of the things about my childhood, I don't remember everything. And I had a very traumatic experience as a child at 7 when my daddy died. So some of my memories are skewed. I don't remember very much of that first year after my daddy died at all. Like I said, some of that is skewed. So for me, this was a very interesting, I've been through this like 3 or 4 times before, but this time around, maybe it's because things are different. My brother's passed away. My dad has passed away. My aunt just recently passed away. So there's been a lot of change. My family dynamics for the family I came from has changed. I talked about some of the things that I liked in myself when I was a child. And I went back through and I talked about the things that I liked when I was younger, before my daddy died, and then kind of after my daddy died, because my personality shifted. I really liked where she talked about the parts where it talked about your habits and some of the things that you need to let go of. I didn't have a hard time with that, but I did have a hard time kind of thinking about some of the other things, like coming up with a list of friends who nurture me: my husband, my daughter, my son, and my cousin. I have a couple of cousins. I would say that quite a few of those cousins are actually best friends. The inner compass. When I was thinking about the habits, one of the things that I wrote down is FOMO. I feel like I'm missing out on certain things. In some ways, I feel like I procrastinate to avoid delving into certain things when it comes to habits. The inner compass, which is where you make a list of friends who nurture you. I did number 7, which is the inner compass. She says each of us has an inner compass. This is an instinct that points us toward help. It warns us when we are on dangerous ground, and it tells us when something is safe and good for us. And that morning pages is a way to connect with that. And she gives a list of some of the artist brain activities that can help with that, like painting, driving, walking, running. And she says to take an hour to follow your inner compass by doing an artist brain activity and listening to what insights bubble up. When I finished, I realized why and how certain things got to be the way that they are. In order for me to make the kind of progress that I really need to make, I've got to let go of, 1, the perfectionism. 2, I've got to let go of holding on to things that I really don't need to hold on to. They're just things. Number 8 was to list 5 people you admire, and then to list 5 people that you secretly admire, the traits that you admire about them. Some of the things that I wrote down about those people were the very same things. As far as the check-in goes, this is what I wrote down. How many days this week did I do my morning pages? In week 3, all but one. There was one day this past week where I didn't do a whole page. I didn't do 3 whole pages. I did like 3/4 of a page. But I did go back in later that evening and write some different things in that were on my mind. I do find that I have arthritis in my hands, and I also have carpal tunnel. And there are times when writing, no matter what utensil I use, hurts. And morning pages, by about page 2, my hand is hurting. I went back to bed that morning. I wrote a little bit and wrote some, and then I went back to bed. I didn't feel good. I got a flu shot last week. Number 2, the artist date. I took an hour by myself and I went and read. I have been reading Stephen King's Bill Hodges series. I just finished Finders Keepers the other day. I'm about to start End of Watch, but I am also reading May Sarton's Journal of a Solitude. And I also have some books coming in from the Book of the Month Club. I will leave a link down below if you're interested in the Book of the Month. I love it so far. I'm loving it. You can skip a month, which I have done, but I do have October's coming in. They're just coming in a little bit late because I forgot about. With the artist date, went outside. I took an hour by myself, and I took my chair out there and I sat under a tree. It was really nice weather, and I read for an hour. All by myself, fiction, just for me, not something that I'm doing for anybody else, just for me. And it was really nice. I used the chair because of the ants, and we had an ant invasion. It was atrocious. So then we get to synchronicities, and the inner vision card kept popping up throughout this whole year. And, oh, I've got it upside down. This is the card. This is from Kat Ryle's Roots and Wings deck. They have the little one and the bigger one, and she's hopefully soon she's come out with a new one. So I've been thinking a lot about intuition and inner voice because that's my word for this year, and it's funny that it keeps coming up. I think it just keeps coming up for a variety of different reasons. It's coming up. But one of the things that has been on my mind, and it keeps popping up in different places, is the word serendipity. I'm not sure that that word is going to be my word for next year. If it's not my word, then it's very close to my word for next year. Somebody mentioned something in a video, made me think about it, and then a synchronicity that happened. I have been searching for I don't know, about a year or more for the Very Hungry Caterpillar Hobonichi cover. They only made it in the A6. I do have the pencil board. Mitz had sent me the pencil board a long time ago when she got the Very Hungry Caterpillar A6, because it was only available at like the Loft store or something. I follow Mitz, but I'm usually like a little bit behind when her videos post. I'm a little bit behind with watching a lot of videos. I watch them sometimes when I'm doing things. I stumbled across Mitz's video and it had not been out for very long, and she was destashing some of her covers, and one of those covers was the A6 Very Hungry Caterpillar, and I was like, oh my gosh. So she was selling it at such a wonderful price that I could not, I had to. I've got a Very Hungry Caterpillar t-shirt. I did some PDF, some drawings and calendars and all kinds of stuff, little pieces of fruit for the Very Hungry Caterpillar one year, I think for like March or April. I've bought both of those books and stuff for my grandkids. Victor has a whole set. And I got the golden anniversary edition, the big one for Selena. Victor thinks they're all his. And Selena thinks they're all hers. There were a few other things that were synchronous. And number 4 was, were there any other issues this week that you consider significant for your recovery? And describe them. Dealing with criticism. I feel guilty all the time for everything. And one of the things that really helped was this free association thing that she did. That she asked, and it made me realize it's one of those unfortunate family issues, a pattern. I need to stop it. And then I wrote, no, I am stopping it. Not I need to stop it, I am stopping it. It made such a difference to me, just the wordage, that I realized I'm not responsible for everything that happens to everybody. But I do feel that the moment, anytime anybody starts complaining, that it's all my fault. Like I have control over everything. I have that kind of power, and I don't. One of the other things that I realized when I was doing some of the free association is that I have some anger built up over certain things from childhood. And a lot of it has to do with those very patterns, those family patterns. Some of those things are learned behaviors. I don't carry the responsibility for everybody and everything around on my shoulders. I don't have any control over a lot of that. All right, now we're going to talk about some of the things that I did. Had to get a new mug. I broke mine. Julia Cameron. She says, often we are wrongly shamed as creatives. From this shaming, we learn that we are wrong to create. Once we learn this lesson, we forget it instantly. Buried under it doesn't matter. The shame lives on, waiting to attach itself to our new efforts. The very act of attempting to make art creates shame. Art opens the closet, air out the cellars and attics. It brings healing, but before a wound can heal, it must be seen, and this act of exposing the wound to air and light, the artist act, is often reacted to with shaming. So real work, I hear that quite a bit, is journaling, painting, content creating, all of this. Is it a real job, or is it just, an expensive hobby? And then I end up asking myself those very same questions. Is this a real job? I'm not making enough money to even be considered a part-time job, even though I work way more than full-time hours. So then I end up with this shame and fear all over again, because is it really a real job? Or maybe just going broke, trying to live my dream. Maybe I just need to get a real job. Been doing some deep thought and work in this time around with the Artist Way. Art brings things to light. It illuminates us. It sheds light on our lingering darkness. It casts a beam into the heart of our own darkness and says, see? So in order to silence that voice that's inside me, some of this learned guilt, learned shame. When you're from the South, women are supposed to be nice. We're supposed to be pleasant. But that's why I think so many women have issues with people pleasing. In order to silence that voice that's still occupying my mind, I need to work on the things that I am most passionate about. Craftsmanship, creativity. We tend to excel most when the hard work that we're putting in is actually enjoyable and meaningful. When we do what we love, we're much more likely to do. Working for money will only really get you so far. What if I did something that I would be doing even if it didn't pay money? So that's what I'm doing. And I think I just needed a sort of a reminder, because I just had my 9-year YouTube anniversary, and I am not even at 5,000 subscribers, not even at 4,000 subscribers. And I thought, well, what's the point? You know, I'm never good. I'm not growing really, very, very slowly. And that frustrates me on the one hand because I really want to share more with people. And I really would like to have more stability, more independence financially. And then that anger that I feel about some of that, the shame and the guilt, and that anger, though, it is telling us that we can't get away with our old life anymore. It's a wake up. It's a hello. It's a flag. Most of my anger appears whenever I feel helpless, when my anxiety rears its ugly head. One of the big things that has been opening up on a much deeper level for me has been synchronicity. And synchronicity allows us time to percolate over, you know, it allows us a wake up moment, a sort of a flow of things, but at the same time an action. It's like it's also like a flag, but it's a different kind of flag. I think synchronicity also gives us feeling of like magic. Julia Cameron talks about luck as well. She says luck shows up when we make ourselves open, persistent, pops up even when we don't pay attention to it or when we're ignoring it, kind of. That's one of the things that really resonated for me over last week in week 3. I did learn a lot about myself. One of the big things that came through, and I'm sorry y'all, I have the flu. I am not feeling good. I only put the lipstick on because it makes me feel a little bit better. I feel like I did learn quite a bit. One of the things that I did touch on in this, things that I have sort of figured out, the things that I'm not gonna be doing, I'm gonna try really hard not to be doing, because she says do not let your self-doubt turn into self-sabotage. So these are some of my no more things, my boundary things, my stand up for myself, my stand my ground things. I will no longer respond to those who tell me that what I do isn't a real job. Define real job. I don't need you to define it for me. I will no longer pay attention to or listen to people who undermine, outright or subtly, or insult what I do. You know, they offer their judgments about what I do. I don't need that. I'm not paying any attention to it anymore. I'm not listening to it. So some of the things that I have still got to do, I'm working on. Because I am sick, I am having to postpone putting some of these, emptying out. I need to put that stand together for the mini fridge and the microwave. I need to go through those boxes. I need to go through some of the books back there and take them out and put some of the books that are in the Kallax unit in there and move everything out of that Kallax unit and everything off of that desk, and everything from out here, and I'm gonna put it in our shed temporarily so that not the Kallax unit, but some of the stuff, because I need to rearrange some things. I'm working on all of that, but I've got a lot of work to do. Anyway, so I learned a lot. I have the flu. Not feeling very good at all. I'm running a fever. I've been running a fever on and off for a few days now. So I apologize for the sniffling. I had to edit out, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes worth of coughing. This is week 4 that I'm on right now. It's the Recovering a Sense of Integrity. It opens up with talking about the morning pages and how we can sort through the differences between our real feelings, which are often secret, and our official feelings, those on the record for public display. Yeah, I'm infamous for faking it till you make it. I've kind of procrastinated with this a little bit. I know this is the one where you can't read, and it's a reading deprivation. So I'm going to be a week behind. I'm just going to let you know now, because I'm not feeling good at having the flu. I have an appointment with the heart doctor next week. So next week might be a better week to do my reading deprivation part. So I will get back to that. And I'll do the other parts. I don't think I've ever, while doing the Artist Way, actually did a complete and utter whole week worth of reading deprivation. Some of what I do for everything has to do with reading. My artist dates have been interesting and relaxing and calm. There are some places that I really want to go, like the museum. Last week's artist date with the chair outside, I just moved it to under the tree in the sunshine, but with a little bit of shade. And I read for like an hour. I kid you not, for a whole hour out there. It was so nice. I went to Starbucks and read, and I went to Starbucks and journaled. I went to Dollar Tree for one of the hours because it says 2 hours. 2 hours at one time. I don't want to spend 2 hours in Dollar Tree, and I don't want to. That's not self-care to me. It's just, I'm not going to. So I'd split mine up, and so that it's more of like me time, and it's doing things that I really want to do, but a lot of times don't afford myself to do because I just don't have time, or I don't make the time. So some of what I'm doing for my artist date are things that I would love to make time for, but I on a normal basis really don't. That's some of what I'm doing for my artist dates. All right, y'all have a great one, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye, y'all.